What's good, everybody? It's Andrew coming back at you with another episode from the Jaguar podcast. In today's episode, we're going to be discussing Vax Gate, another Urban Meyer scandal. What a surprise. But before we get into it, as always, if you want to show your support for the channel, hit that red subscribe button and hit that bell icon if you want updates on latest content. All right. More drama from Herbs. It was announced last week that the NFLPA, that's the NFL Players Association, will be opening up an investigation based on comments that Urban Meyer made in a press conference when he was asked about vaccination status and how it factored into roster decisions. So let's see what Urban Meyer said when he was asked about this by a reporter.
Can you, I know you can't give specifics, but could you share with us whether a vaccinated versus unvaccinated player had an impact on a roster decision?
Everyone was considered. That was part of the production. What's his, let's start talking about this, and then also is he vaccinated or not? Can I say that was a decision maker? It was certainly in consideration.
Okay, so it's clearly pretty obvious that Urban Meyer, and based on what he said, it's evident that the vaccine status was or played a role in personnel decisions or roster cuts for the Jags 2021 roster. I don't think there's any doubt about that. A lot of people are going nuts about this on Twitter, defending Urban Meyer. He was just being honest. Of course, it had to be taken into consideration, right? But that's not the issue, guys. The issue is that the NFLPA explicitly stated and sent a memo out to their players. They said that vaccination status for players cannot be a determining factor in roster cuts. So it's not about Urban Meyer being honest. It's about what Urban Meyer said. And he wasn't supposed to say that. And we can get in debates about that all day. But I just wonder, it's like, is anybody coaching Urban Meyer before he goes out and he does these press conferences? I mean, I feel like he just shot himself in the foot again. I'm not sure if the Jaguars PR staff was on vacation or what the hell he was doing here. But this should have not been said. This question should have been redirected to Trent Baalke, or no comment should have been made, honestly. And I know I'm not like a media expert here or a PR expert, but you got to know how to do this. Somebody's got to be coaching Urban Meyer on what to say when he's asked about these things, because clearly it doesn't seem like he knows what's going on when he's asked these types of questions, especially with the Chris Doyle situation. He should have been coached up on that. That didn't happen, and it just turned into a mess. So I don't know what the hell is going on. Jacksonville has issued a statement kind of clarifying their stance on vaccination status, and I'm going to read it right here for you. This is the statement from the Jacksonville Jaguars. Availability is one of the many factors taken into account when making roster decisions. We have vaccinated and unvaccinated players on our roster, and no player was released because of their vaccination status. Ultimately, decisions are based on a player's ability to help the Jaguars win. We educate our players and respect personal decisions as it pertains to the vaccine. We want to keep our players, staff, and families safe as we comply with protocols related to both health and safety and competition on game days. So the Jacksonville Jaguars backing up on and clarifying essentially on what Urban Meyer stated in that press conference. But it's a mess. It's just another mess. And guys, I know you think I'm picking on Urban Meyer. I'm not. If this was the first instance and I was making a big deal about this, I would say you're right. I am picking on him, but I'm not. And I mean, just take a step backwards and rewind, and let's see what's happened since he's taken the helm as the coach. You start off with the Chris Doyle debacle, him hiring a coach that was accused of, being a racist and kind of targeting minorities, specifically black players. There were allegations of that, and then there was a settlement. they went ahead and hired him anyways, even though they knew that. And then Urban kind of made up this story about, him vetting him. Clearly they didn't. And then Chris Doyle resigns about a week after it because there was so much kind of turmoil, stewed up because of that decision to bring him onto the coaching staff. Then you have Tim Tebow, that whole fiasco. Urban Meyer bringing him on as a tight end, a position he's never played. Just stirring up the tight end room, stirring up drama. He gets cut, after the first preseason game. So there was pretty much no chance of him being able to make that roster, but he still let him, have that opportunity and take up reps from somebody else or, another player that we could have signed. And then, I even forgot that he was fined in the beginning of training camp for having contact practices by the NFLPA. And then, the Gardner Minshew quarterback controversy with Trevor Lawrence. It was ridiculous. Taking reps away from Trevor Lawrence. And for what? He just, we get a ham sandwich in return from Philly for Gardner Minshew. So what did we get from that? Nothing. And now this, Urban Meyer blows his mouth off about vaccines and how they play a part in the roster decisions and cuts. And we have another NFLPA investigation looming or in progress rather. And this is all amongst, after all the Tom Coughlin issues with the NFLPA and finding players and all of that stuff. So it's like, it's not a good look for Jacksonville. The optics on this are just so bad. And it's a mess. It is just a mess. And it even gets worse. After he made those comments, Urban Meyer goes on and starts talking about Josh Allen and his COVID situation. And he even goes on to say a few things. He's like, I don't even know if I should be saying this.
After the vaccinations, is that just the NFL made it so punitive for guys who aren't vaccinated that you just...
Well, Josh Allen's never had it.
Right.
He's not played in 2 weeks. So he's never had COVID. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but he's never had COVID.
Yeah, clearly ridiculous. He says, I don't even know if I should be saying this right now. Well, it goes to show you, it's like that old saying, right? If you don't know what you're doing, don't do it. And this should have been ringing in Urban Meyer's ears before this press conference. Unfortunately, it wasn't. And it's just a mess. I don't know what to say, guys. I mean, this is concerning coming from a team that has been 1-15. Their record, last season, won one game. And it's just tough to be competitive, especially, when stuff like this is going on. I mean, why are we having these conversations to get players vaccinated? It's clearly evident that you need to do the needful to stay competitive and have your players available. And this team, it just doesn't seem like they're doing that right now. 2 weeks ago, I believe they had an 84% vaccination status. That has increased due to the roster cuts to 93%, across the NFL as a collective. But this team should be at 100%. This is a no-brainer. And it's just ridiculous, especially considering that this team is going to have to play games over in Europe. And specifically in the UK, London, they have very strict requirements on COVID-19 quarantine, the process. So if you're unvaccinated and, you catch COVID over in London when those games are happening, you have to be quarantined for 10 days. 10 days if you are unvaccinated. So this presents a huge problem. What are we going to do about this if players aren't vaccinated? We could end up forfeiting a game or a couple of games that may be the case if players aren't vaccinated. So, why are we having these discussions? This isn't funny anymore. It's getting old. We've lost so many people to COVID. Players are getting paid a lot of money, and if players are uncomfortable with taking the vaccine, I understand that, but you could have opted out in July before the season started, before training camp, if you were uncomfortable with taking the COVID vaccine. But now, here we are, a 1-15 football team with 100+ losses, and we're dealing with players not being vaccinated, not being available. And this is just not something we should be seeing from a team that, had a season like they did in 2020. They should all be vaccinated. The vaccination percentage should be 100%, and we should be able to stay competitive. And it's mind-boggling to me. Shad Khan or Urban Meyer said the plan was that we were going after a winning record in 1 year. But how are we going to do that if our players aren't vaccinated and we can't compete? I mean, it just seems irresponsible to me. It seems, we may have to pull those games out of London now if we don't have players that are vaccinated or we have players that are sick. So our fans over across the Atlantic and in the UK, they don't win. I mean, they lose out on seeing the games. Jags fans as a whole could lose out if players are sick and we have to forfeit games. But those are the rules that the NFLPA has set out. So the Jaguars really need to get it together here, guys. I mean, I'm not going to bullshit you here or blow smoke up your ass, but let me know how you guys feel about this situation. Leave me a comment on the YouTube video or podcast episode. Subscribe to the channel, guys. Stay safe, stay sane, stay healthy. Go Jags, and I'll see you next time.
Duval! What's up, everybody? It's Andrew from the Jaguar Podcast. Hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, there's more content over here. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel as always. And remember, this is a podcast, so you can find this pretty much wherever you find podcasts. There I'll be doing interviews of current and former Jaguars players, including Joe Schobert, DeJuan Smoot, Shaq Quarterman, etc. And I also do interviews of former Jaguars players, including Natron Means, Jimmy Smith, Tom McManus, etc. So be sure to check out the podcast, subscribe to it, stay safe, stay sane, stay healthy, go Jags, and I'll see you next time.